Okay, this is going to be a response video to Fred that's conference report, who just posted a response to me called Study and Self-Cultivation. Didn't really understand that video. I'm not sure why I'm suddenly being asked to be consistent or not contradictory, where I guess I really don't see the contradiction. I didn't say that this was a response video. Paul said some stuff about his sense of youth, and I really enjoyed the video there greatly. I thought the Amazing Atheist response there to Paul's was good, but I didn't see myself as directly trying to engage in a dialogue about those issues. Yeah, I was, you know, talking about something, I guess, that came from spending the last 4 days off of YouTube. It was the holidays. I didn't have a computer. I was at some relatives. They had dial-up. I tried to get online a couple of times and was sort of forced into shooting a video. Or I'm sorry, I was forced into not having the computer, sort of access there. And I sat and I really studied for a while. Got up early in the morning while people were sleeping, and I got some good study time in. And I was seriously thinking of taking a good hiatus from YouTube. I was thinking, boy, I really need some time off. It was such a delight to study and to have time unplugged. And I got home last night, and then watched that video, and I found it compelling me into wanting to shoot some kind of response, but I didn't want to shoot a dialogue, like a response to it directly. I do think that I think the Amazing Atheist is probably more in line with the position that I would give, which is yes, things are really bad, but it's no worse than it's ever been, and in a certain sense, things are, by many standards, improved, right? Especially if you want to talk about life expectancy and social, health care for some people. Now, if we say, well, it isn't good for everyone, well, I agree, but it's never been good for everyone. It's no worse than it's ever been. I mean, the world post-morphine has changed the perspective of what we think life should be. Um, is the world more vulnerable than it's ever been? Yes, maybe. It's a complex thing. I don't think it can be solved here on YouTube, Fred. I think that's part of the problem. I'm I'm becoming more despondent and reluctant in my ability to have meaningful dialogues on YouTube. I am, you know. I feel, I get responses from people who, I saw some of your videos, you responded to, or you commented on some of my videos, and it seemed very tangential. I wasn't sure what you were trying to do. And I think you were getting at this to spook. I think you're trying to motivate me to, I don't know, to address some of these issues about, it's something else. You're wanting me to be consistent, which I don't think I was being inconsistent. I didn't post that I was giving a response video. And then you're wanting consistency, but for inconsistent reasons. I feel like this is about something else. I'm not sure what it is. I do think it's about, you want me to engage more in Despook or something like this. And Despook, I don't understand. I find it very confusing. I really do. I don't understand what his beef is. He keeps saying that I'm essentializing language. And if this is what it is, here, I'll just address this, and to Despook, he can hear this as well. He keeps saying I'm essentializing language. Here's what I would say is the problem of his claim. That if you're going to say that humans have language, okay, well, what do you mean by language? Then do other animals have language? I think we're going to say, some people are going to say, well, they have their kind of language. Now, are you going to say it's the same thing? I think we're going to say, well, it's different. And there are points at which differences of degree become differences of kind. Could there be an incomplete language, a language that's somewhere between what we mean by language and what we mean by organismal sign systems, broadly construed? And again, even there, it becomes very abstract. I think language is an abstraction. Are there differences of degree that become differences of kind? I mean, we do distinctions like mineral, vegetable, animal. Now, are there fuzzy boundary cases that we can identify? Yes, but we still use these abstract terms to identify broadly what we're going to call differences of kind. So I guess I don't really understand the argument. Same with humanity. I tried to suggest that you want to avoid essentializing some of these notions of humanity. The notion that Homo sapien will not suffice because Neanderthal was in fact cross-fertile and there's now sufficient genetic evidence, that seemed to be a direct example of part of the problem with that. I've tried to suggest in it's sort of like countless videos. Some of it's frustrating to try to have dialogues if they are going to be meaningfully ongoing. I guess part of it was that, when you sit and study a book and carefully study a book, I think there's an interest in, again, trying to grow oneself before immediately responding. Now, right here, okay, so here I am. I'm immediately responding to your video. I saw your video and I immediately wanted to respond, so I turned on my camera and I shot a response to it. Is that good? I don't know. Part of this, I'm not sure the degree to which this is a dialogue. Is it a dialogue? I don't even know when you're going to hear this, if you're ever going to hear it. Now, my guess is you are going to hear it. But when and to what extent will this fizzle out? To what extent will we be able to resolve it? To what extent would I have changed where it is right now if earlier on we would have been in co-presence and you could have went, well, no, here's really what I was sort of asking about, or this is what the beef is about. See, I don't really know. And when I got onto YouTube, I was a dusty old book person, and I still see myself that way. I'm obviously I said it before. I'm a bad YouTuber. I've always felt that way. I don't know. You know, I'm not sure what else I could say, Fred. I hope that responds a little bit to the questions you had about how my video related to TJ. I do feel some of the concern about what Paul said. Another part of me says, Paul, nationalism is nothing new to the U.S., right? Yes, nationalism is something that all peoples probably have. It's probably healthy to have some sense of organismal pride grounded in group identification just for mental security sake of the youth. Should that be beyond reproach or critique or interrogation? No, I think people, hopefully, as they get older, of every culture, they come to question the kind of nationalistic presumptions that go into their own identity and ego formation. I don't think, though, that if I come down and basically say, I think of it sort of like this, that maybe this is a better way to say it. Humanity, I think, struggles with self-relation, managing its relationship to time, and this seems to be a problem as far it goes back to the kind of dawn of Western orientations toward narrative consciousness that emerges again in the West. And to say, I don't want to, quotes, essentialize, but I do want to get at what seems to be the kind of dominant characteristic of the people who are watching these videos. The consciousness that we're talking about, I think, are the kinds of consciousness of the people who are going to watch these videos, and to people who are going to think about their own experiences in terms of what the things that were said, how they relate to their own lives. I don't think any of us are trying to play, anthropological poacher upon peoples that we're never going to come into contact and tell them how their experiences are. Some of this I don't even understand. You know, I guess outside of context, in the context of no context, which is, I guess, YouTube, this sort of Ethernet of non-space-time, which in Kittler's term is the imaginary is now replacing the real. Yeah, the imaginary is taking over the real. Again, he's sort of coming out of this Lacanian stuff. I guess dialogue is breaking down for me, and to that extent, I haven't shot as many video responses as I had in the past. There was a time when I shot a lot of responses, and you have to know this, Fred. I shot a lot of responses to you. I've always found your videos very engaging. I know you've done a lot more artistic videos lately. Some of yours are a little bit more, I don't know, they're kind of an artistic statement. The bunnies and the meat. And I really enjoyed the meat one. I thought the meat one, the most recent, the meat or murder one, I found fascinating. Partly, and I would encourage people, maybe I'll end with this, to do as an experiment to watch the video with the sound down and then play it again, close your eyes and listen. The it's obvious that both the images and the sounds together are so potent. I mean, they're just utterly, utterly potent. But when you hear the sounds are just bone chilling. I mean, they just rip right, for me, they just rip right through me. It's like, oh, man, those sounds are so haunting. Whereas when you watch it with the sound down, it's almost not painful. It's almost like a ballet of non-visual movement. It's really weird what sound is in terms of its opening to the interiority of the other as conscious, sentient presence. In the you obviously know this, in the ancient world, there's a lot in the struggle of the early alchemists to make gold out of baser metals. And I sometimes think of that as, the attempt at fool's gold may be a kind of attempt at the equivalent of ancient fool's gold would be the modern attempt at a fully mechanized sentience, a kind of computer, a machine that would be sentient. Now, will it be able to make decisions? Well, it depends on how we mean that by decisions, but it could be that in a fully materialistic cosmos, a world that's fully robustly materialist, not just functionally oriented, but a full on materialism, may say that no, you never have sentience in a machine because it's just not of the right material, that the material itself matters. And I think, hopefully, that this video was digressive and wandering enough to try to cover some of the range of why, again, YouTube is like a context of no context. You can bobble around from video to other video, and it doesn't have the same kind of, I guess, coherence, at least for me. I mean, I could probably make much more well-organized videos, but this is spontaneous off the cuff. And um, at any rate, I I hope in some of that very wandering response, I both addressed why I didn't think it was really that much of a contradiction to post that up as a video response. I guess it was partly to get people to look at it. I started with I had a link in there. And then the more I thought about it, I went, geez, maybe I'll just post it up as a response and people can look at it. I mean, maybe I'll just pull it away as a response. But I do want people to see that video. That's sort of how it started. Um, and I hope that I did also address some of the concerns about both Paul's video and TJ's video. Yeah, it's no worse than it's ever been, but probably more vulnerable than it's ever been. But I don't want to give up on people's capacity to develop themselves despite all the other ways in which they may be constrained. I think that the belief that people are cultivatable may be one of the essential parts of genuine self-cultivation. And I don't think that it's about leaving a legacy. I don't think that the goal of life is to leave books or leave videos or to have left a great thing. Or it's, for me, it's not children. Oh, can you get that? It's not about the children or the other things. It's about the beauty of the bouquet of it's the dance. It's you write books and you dance and you sculpt, not to have the record of the great dance or the great sculpture or the great book, but to inspire other people to get in there and to dance. And I guess I think want to say to me that it's that I'm imposing some sort of hierarchy. I don't think that there's any escape from it. I'm not advocating it. I think I'm suggesting that I don't think there's any way out of it. And part of the problem with, I guess, the hierarchy issue is that, part of me sometimes feels sorry for people who listen to my YouTubes, people who are listening to anybody's YouTubes. There are countless, countless brilliant authors who lived before the electric age, and now they're being neglected and forgotten simply by the happenstance of their birth. I feel sorry for everyone who was born well before the internet. Their voices are being ignored in an attention of economy, and instead of people trying to go, wow, there were, the number of people who haven't read any Epictetus, and how brilliant they would find some of that. Um, and instead, yeah, they're farting around here on YouTube and listening to me, and it makes me sad. I think the price that you pay when you pay attention is that you can't pay attention to anything else at the same time, And to me, that means of all of the things you're going to do, this is what you're choosing to do. Okay, so thanks.